Oh.
I guess I'll just call him myself. I'll cancel this then. Brandon's not joining by Zoom. He's just going to join by us. So.
Is Brandon going to call in or no?
He's
He's
going to go by himself. He
but
can't use Zoom.
he'll be here by phone. Okay.
Okay, I don't know how well you'll be able to hear, but I got you on speaker, and you're right here between Jill and I.
Okay. I was gonna say, if not, I can try to hop on the Zoom and just do voice.
No, you're good.
I don't know if it'll let me. Something's going on with my camera, and it won't let me
I can hear
do
it.
face.
That helps.
They said they can hear you, so you're good.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Did you want to give them a preempt to the board meeting before we get started, or where you're at? Is that boot camp? Is that what you call it?
Police Academy? It might as well be boot camp. Yeah.
Police Academy boot camp.
I wasn't trying to join the Army twice, but I knew they did.
I'd like to welcome everyone this evening. We're going to jump out of order a little bit. Before we open the regular meeting, we have some really important people in the room this evening. They're wearing red shirts, and some of them have medals hanging around their necks. I think that we are ready to recognize the junior high track team that with us this evening, we have two of our coaches. Wait. Do you want to give us a little recap?
Yes, you can. All to start out, we had a really good season, both boys and girls. We brought home a lot of first place, a lot of meets. We brought home several trophies as a team, and then we performed really well at a sectional that was 40-mile-per-hour winds, and it was brutal. But the kids really did what they needed to do to get us to state. And at state, we had an awesome showing. So you guys can stand up and tell them what your name is, and tell them what events you did at state and what places you got, if you can remember. You want to start first? Okay. I ran the 4x4. Oh, I'm Elena Wade. I ran the 4x4 and the 4x2, and then we got fourth in the 4x4, and I don't remember what we got the 4x2. Okay. I'm Elise Lutz, and I ran 4x2. I don't remember what place in the 4x4 alternate.
My name is Abigail Johnson, and I ran the 1600, the 800, and the 4x4. We got fourth in the 4x4, and I got first in both the 16 and the 800.
And was there something about the getting first?
She broke the state record in the 1600, and then she was close to breaking it in the 800, right? Yeah. Is that it? Oh, yes, the
School
school
record.
record. But she broke those like multiple times. Like every single week she broke those.
My name is Corey Bailey. I ran the 4x2 and we got fourth.
My name is Riley Holland. I ran the 400. I don't remember what place. And in the 4x2 and 4x4, we got fourth.
I'm Anna Gushnower and I ran the 4x2 and got Jared Klingler, I ran the 1600 and I got 8.
I'm Kale Allison, I ran the 12 and we got 9.
And you have probably about 18 other kids that went and placed that couldn't be here tonight. So we took 29, I think this year, 29 kids.
And then our 8th grade girls, second place overall for state. So that was probably the highest we've ever.
I think that's the highest.
So it was awesome. We lost on a coin flip to bring the trophy home, so we got there like 2 weeks late, but we got some pictures with it. So that was pretty exciting. The girls were pretty excited about it.
So we'll have to watch the sign as you drive into Effingham
Yes.
for our state champion.
Yeah, have 2 things on there.
That's great. Congratulations. Could I get a round of applause? We're very proud of you. I'm sure your coaches are very proud of you. I'm sure that your teachers are especially proud of you because I'm guessing that you're just as good in the classroom as you are on the track. I know that your parents are very proud of you. Make sure that you offer your thanks to your parents, your coaches, your teachers. They are very supportive of you and your endeavors. Tradition in here is our competitors. We'd like to shake your hands. So if you want to funnel through, and then Michelle will get your picture in front of the backdrop.
Yeah. Good job, Elise. Good job, Elise.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Good job.
Way to go.
Good job.
Congratulations.
Good job, Chloe.
Congratulations.
Good job.
Good year.
Congratulations. Congratulations. All right, we're gonna move this chair out of the way. This way, you know, it's, you can listen back down here.
So the state champion one.
We're gonna have to act like.
That's it.
This is out of the way? Yeah, we're good. Oh, doesn't matter.
Are you ready?
Okay, anybody else see the picture? You guys want a picture of their parents?
Wait.
Yeah.
You had to need to.
I would like to make sure.
Huh?
I had that in 2015.
That was a level one.
And this is a whole lot.
Everyone's not paying attention.
Oh, sorry. You were talking.
We're all waiting on you.
I think Brandon said he wanted the picture. Brandon, did you want to be in the picture?
We can hold the phone.
Yes, please, I'd like a picture.
But they laugh at me. Congratulations.
Yep. That didn't make you feel good. We're glad to see you doing well.
That's what I do. That's what I do.
Thanks, coaches.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for recognizing them. We really appreciate it. Well done.
I'd like to call to order the FY25 amended budget hearing. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Erica?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Jane, yes. Chad? Desha?
Yes.
Brandon?
Yes.
Okay, at this time, Mrs. Baker will share some information about the budget.
The budget has been posted on the website and available here at our board office for 30 days. The article has been ran for the notice for today's meeting.
No additional amendments are needed at this time. I've been watching for the last 30 days. So I would ask that you would approve the amended budget as proposed. Later on in the meeting. Any questions?
Are there any questions? Okay, I'm looking for a motion and a second to adjourn the budget hearing.
Motion.
Motion by Andrew,
Second.
second by Erica. Roll call.
Andrew,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Jane, yes. Desha,
Yes.
Brandon,
Yes.
Erica.
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to call to order the hearing for the bond issue. Roll call.
Jill,
Yes.
Jane, yes. Desha,
Yes.
Brandon,
Yes.
Erica,
Yes.
Andrew.
Yes.
Okay, at this part of the meeting, there's a public hearing concerning the intent of the Board of Education to sell funding bonds for the purpose of paying claims against the district. Are there any?
We have one for sure that, or Shannon.
Oh, there you are.
Shannon, this would be the time. Yeah, if you don't mind. Yep. We're going to take care of everything in the hearing here, if that's okay.
That's, yeah. Hey, so we talked last month.
Right.
I just want to thank you guys. I know that these are elected positions and your pay is terrible. So I personally appreciate all of the volunteer work that you guys do. I love this community. I love the school. In 25 days, with under $200, we got almost 3,000 signatures saying that we don't want to be levied without a referendum. I think the community had to, well, I know the community had to stop what they were doing. They had to make a choice to go here, or to go and sign a petition. And they made that choice, 2,800 of them, who we got the information out to with under $200. It was expressed in the last meeting that the 18,000 people that voted on the 1%, there was over $30,000 spent in a 2-month period before that to get out the message that you guys, not necessarily you, but the people that were for the 1% wanted to get out. When you look at what we did in 25 days, what this community said in 25 days, what the voters in Unit 40 district said, I think it kind of speaks, I think it speaks volumes to say that we just came together and said, no, there's got to be more conversation. We're not saying that the school doesn't need it. We're not saying that we don't think those children are absolutely amazing. And I'm definitely not saying that one suggested, how are you going to replace these retirees, these teachers, these school bus drivers, these employees that have been with us for so long? I understand that. People like that don't come along and spend that much time for the pay that they get because it's for the pay. They do that because they love the community, or they love what the community's doing with the right direction, with the right motives, with the right purpose. Right now, this is just my opinion based off of walking some door to door. There's a trust issue that's happening, and it's not that we don't know the school board and that we don't love the school board. It's that I wasn't even here 25 years ago. You guys built a school, not you. This community built a school, and they said, yeah, we're going to pay off those bonds. This junior high, it's terrible, can never be used again. We need a new school building. That's all there is to it. And now the junior high is there. I say all that just because there's a trust issue when you're trying to get out your message, and you may not want to hear what I'm saying, but that trust issue, especially when you look at what's going on in our country as a whole, there's a trust issue that DOJ had to come in and say, this is bad, this is bad, this is, it's not that it's corrupt, it's that it was used and, maybe not correctly, I don't know, but you can go through that. There's a trust issue that's happening. And I hope to work with you. I hope I can to help that, because I think everybody that's in this room wants what's best for the kids too. We just, whatever message is trying to be sent, it's, we're not hearing what you have to say. And we definitely aren't hearing it when we say no to a 1% tax, and then you try to tax our homes and you try to tax our property. And for a lot of people in this community, that was personal. The 1% was, okay, we can have a disagreement. You just tried to tax them 13 to 17%. And I say that number because that's what it was, the stifle lady said. I know Mr. Johnson said 8 to 13%. I don't know how that, I don't know the change, but we live and work here, and we love living and working here. So I hope you'll look at those and maybe make some new decisions or look at things a little bit differently. And I'm going to keep praying for this community and keep praying for the school and praying for the school board. So that's all I had.
Thank you.
And I don't speak for everyone, but God, they showed up. And I just started that page the 13th and said, hey guys, we need to look at what's going on here. So it wasn't something because of me. Something else was over it. So thank you guys for showing up, and thank you for listening. I appreciate it.
And this was what was turned in this morning. I can read you the results. Is there anybody else who needs to speak before we read the results of this? I think it speaks volumes for what you just said, Shannon. Where are my notes here? One petition was 2,814 signatures, and the other petition was 2,855 signatures. Almost 700 pages there and almost 750 pages there. So a lot of work, a lot of time. Shannon did tell me this morning, and Lisa and Steve, and I think Ty in our conversation this morning said that you've been through it fine-tooth comb 4 times. So I think people need to understand and respect the amount of time that you put in, ma'am, and I commend you for that.
We do respect the process, for sure. I mean,
so I think at this time, I do want you to know that obviously they've been received. I'm sure that's been shared with you. I saw it posted on Facebook as well.
Johnson,
Yes.
one question that wasn't made clear on, if somebody from this community decides to challenge those petitions, and I know you say you're not going to, no? Okay.
We have to follow through if they do.
No, I'm asking, I want to know a time limit.
Time
How
frame.
how long do they have before they can challenge? 5 business days?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And I would highly encourage that to not happen. That's on my notes here, that I would discourage anyone from doing that based on the numbers and the information that Jane and I have thumbed through. It's credible. Somebody's wasting their time and my money if somebody challenges that. That's just Andy Johnson's opinion, though, not the board's. They've been received. Signatures, I've basically conveyed to you how many signatures there are. My recommendation to this board, they have 2 options based on what you all have done and many other people in this community. Number 1 option is the board can consider rescinding the resolution that was passed on the May board meeting, May 19th, which kills this completely, and we get the debt certificates paid off and it goes away. The second piece of this option that they can consider is they could consider propositioning this to the ballot as you stated on your petitions for the March 2026 board meeting. I would not encourage them to do that. Based on the information that you've provided here, I would not encourage them to move forward. I would ask them to rescind this resolution that they approved at the May board meeting and get the debt certificates paid off and start from scratch not scratch. We have a lot of data, a lot of information that I pray that we can utilize, as Shannon and I spoke about this morning, to try to find a way to still meet the needs of this school district. So that's from the superintendent's standpoint. I think we could probably entertain any other questions real quick if you've got them. If not, Jill has a statement that she'll read for the press and for everyone involved. Any questions at this time?
Are there any other questions, comments? No. Okay. As many in the community are aware, at its May 19th, 2025 board meeting, the board publicly took initial steps toward the issuance of bonds to finance improvements to the district's facilities. As required by law, the board published notices regarding its bonds and allowed for the community to file petitions to place these bonds on the ballot in an upcoming election. On June 23rd, 2025, the district received petitions seeking to place those bonds on the ballot. The district wishes to thank the community for its work on these petitions and for its interest in the district's bonds and facilities work. Going forward, the board will consider at an upcoming meeting whether to submit the bond propositions to the voters or whether to abandon these bonds and look for other ways to finance the district's facilities needs. The board remains convinced that the facilities work is needed to provide an effective educational environment.
I'll also add before we adjourn the hearing, periodically throughout the course of the day, I've been in communication with attorneys and things of that nature. And at this point right now, as stated by Shannon, there would be a 5-day objection period. Once we're past that objection period, we could hold a special board meeting, which is what I would encourage this group to do potentially next week. That's the first they've heard of it. That's the first you've heard of it, because I found out about it about an hour ago and they were coming to the meeting and you were coming. So might as well share it all right here. That would mean that next week, potentially, we would hold a board meeting if I could get 4 or more board members together for the purpose of only rescinding the resolution to get it off the books, get the debt certificates paid so that we don't incur any more interest on those debt certificates. So if you see that posted, I mean, you're welcome to attend any meeting, but that's really truly what's going to take place at that meeting, is the purpose of getting those paid off so that that's off our books and we have nothing else to worry about. Okay? Make sense?
What's the debt certificates for?
Debt certificates?
Yeah, the debt.
That's the $38 million bonds that was
Okay.
back in May
Okay. All right.
that we discussed at that meeting.
So the 8 to 13%, by your measure, property tax increase is no longer being pursued?
At this point right now, nothing will be pursued. With these folks
So
will have to.
there's no need for it to go on a ballot because it's, at least at this point, a debt issue.
The board has the option, after all of this is over, of potentially still moving it to the ballot if they decide to, because of the petitions. That's what this is saying. This needs to go to the ballot.
Okay.
It doesn't have to go to the ballot. The board could opt to do away with this and just let it die and nothing go to the ballot. The board could turn back around and come up with a different referendum to put on the ballot, say a $45 million one
If
for
the
one
board
building.
doesn't decide to allow that to go to a ballot,
And it dies.
and do the property taxes die with that as well, the increase in property taxes?
Based on the bonds, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, based on the bonds.
That-
The board has to decide where our priorities lie and whether or not we build or remodel, or, whether this project just goes away and then we decide what's more important, because everything's important at this point, right? So we have to, conference over that to decide where do we go from here. We still have needs. They haven't gone away.
The quickest solution to your making sure your property taxes don't go up is to rescind the resolution from May at a special board meeting next week, and it washes everything. It's gone.
Thank you.
That's assurance to you that your legwork was worth what you did, in my opinion, as a superintendent.
Thank you.
there any other
That's it.
questions or comments?
How many bids for the project did you receive? And do they consider using like local tradesmen companies?
We didn't get as far as bidding the project.
No bids, just those 5 phases, no bids.
All we were after was a revenue source to begin the process. No bids have been taken for that project.
But that person was from Southern Illinois, right?
Which one are you referring to, ma'am?
On that chart that showed the 5 phases and on the.
5
very
phases?
bottom,
The 5 phases, what you're talking about from Stiefel or BLD, might be
yeah,
BLDD
some company
architects.
from Southern Illinois.
Actually, they're from Decatur.
Decatur?
Yeah.
Okay,
BLDD architects out of Decatur.
okay.
We had them come in and do a facility analysis 2 summers ago that broke down exactly what it would cost us if we maintained, if we built, potential phases, because I did see some information out about phases. The phase idea was that we could get phase 1 done for the 20 years that would be represented by a potential bond. And then phase 2 might be a vision for the future, because right now nobody has really truly any vision of what to do with facilities. So we were trying to build a vision. It was not something that we're going to turn around and go phase 1, raise your property taxes. Once phase 1's done, we'll tack on 2 and 3 and 4. That was not the design. And that was all addressed at the open meetings that we had back in, I don't know, 2 or 3 months worth, back before the sales tax was passed. Yes, it is correct. That information is absolutely correct. Yes.
I just had a question. I see the 38 million funding bonds. Where is the 19 million?
It's just dealing with the debt certificate. So the 19 just goes away. The 38 was there to pay off the debt certificates to be able to bond, and then the 19 could compact with it, and the 2 go together. Yep.
Sir, I'm sorry.
Yep.
I have another question. When you guys meet next week, will that be an open session so that
Has to be.
it has to be an open?
Yes, ma'am.
session? Okay. And then,
It'll be about a 5-minute meeting if I was to predict it.
okay, is there a, to help us, is there a budget analysis that we can kind of look at and try to see where your visions are coming from and how to help the community? And
That's a loaded question, but our budget is posted on our website every year when we pass the budget. So last year's budget is on our website, line item by line item.
Okay.
And then every year we pass it in September, bring it in August, pass it, or September, October, maybe. Anyway, back-to-back months, we present a tentative budget. It lays over for anybody to come in and look at the budget. You look at it anytime during that 30 days, then we come back for the final approval of our school budget. Annually.
I think the most helpful piece of information for them might be the work that the architect did to say, if we do nothing, if we just maintain the schools, renovate as time goes on, how much does that
Correct.
cost over 20 years? Versus if we consolidate a more efficient building, what does that cost look like?
Correct.
And so, because the buildings have to be maintained, you can't just let them go on as they are. There's just maintenance like a home. So I think that would maybe be the most helpful for Shannon.
Well, I appreciate that. It's not just me. My question.
I know, I just meant
Okay.
because you would disseminate. I mean, you're
Right.
good at getting the information out.
So like, I have a home, I have a budget, I have to put a roof on, I have to put in a new concrete, I have to put in air conditioning and furnace, and I have a budget that I have to get everything set out. Why are maintenance on these buildings not already a part of the budget? Well, again,
Well, they
I'm
are.
ignorant, I'm not trying to, I don't know how it works, so, I'm asking these questions to try to understand.
Yeah.
And a lot of, I don't know how many people in this room understand, but, I'm guessing that most of them don't either, you know, 'cause we just look at what we do for our businesses and what we have to have done. And I understand that you have so many, I don't think of the problem as the unfunded mandates that we talked about, things that are forced upon you from the state level, that goes into the cost. But we don't know why I have to save for my group.
Yeah, I mean, that's specifically how that's worked into the budget on a yearly basis might be better answered by Kelsey, not
I mean, is that part of the budget, that analysis that you guys have that shows exactly?
A great example of this, if you want to take a deep dive into it, and it is on the website, but direct expenditures last year was $4.7 million for our O&M budget, okay, for our facilities. We own a ballpark of 10 buildings, so we have 10 roofs like your one, only it's about 10 times, each one of those is about 10 times the size of your house. But that's the building.
You also have 100 times budget to 1,000 times budget on my house, but go ahead.
We do. We also have 500 employees.
I get it.
We can go on back and forth about this, but we had this conversation this morning, and I did say that I would love to help educate people on how our budget works and some of these pieces. The biggest problem I have is I don't know where and when and how to better do that, because we're talking about, and we don't agree with it. The state budget is not a checks in, checks out, just like our checking accounts. I would love for it to be that way, but I can only use these monies in this fund, so we got to be careful and make sure it doesn't get into this fund. And so there's lots of pieces to that. But a great example is last year our revenue was 3.9 million. And we spent 4.7 on building. Okay, so we spent almost $1 million over. And you say, well, how is that? Well, I've got a health, life, safety problem right now that they're going to discuss after a while of a leak at our Southside building. Do we fix that or do we not do that?
I'm not suggesting that, sir.
That's a $400,000 expenditure that we didn't know about.
I understand, my pipe's break. I've got a raccoon that got into our rental property.
There you go.
That it was supposed to be $4,000, now it's $10,000. So I
I
get it.
think so for a house budget, you can save your money and to prepare for things. If we stockpile your money, the district is funded by taxpayers. So if we start stockpiling taxpayer money, you guys are gonna come say, why are you stockpiling our money that we're paying taxes for? When we need to do a new building, we can't just save up $20 million because you guys will come in here and say, hey, you've got 20 extra million of our taxpayer dollars. And so we cannot do that as a board. We can't take your money and save it for a future date. Whereas our way of building a new building is that we can't take out a mortgage, so we have to get bonds. So that's the process difference between a household and a government body.
Okay. Can't money be earmarked, like the state lottery or marijuana?
I mean, are you willing to pay an extra 5% in property taxes so that we can build a building in 20 years? I mean,
No, I'm just asking, like, our church is getting ready to add
a
on.
church is a different body. You don't pay tax dollars to a church. That's tithes. That's a different.
I understand.
Yeah.
But they have an earmark for it to
Sure.
go to a certain thing, and
This is a
I didn't know if
government body,
schools could, I don't know if schools can earmark or not.
But but what he's saying is we can't save your taxpayer dollars in an account and earn interest and wait for a rainy day. You would have a fit if I'm collecting more money from you to sit in an account to wait to use it later.
I get it.
I mean, we do a pretty great bang up job of maintaining our buildings. We don't let them fall to the ground. There's a leak because there is an issue with drainage that has probably developed over time. We didn't just let it go. So,
It's just
Why don't they do it a little bit at a time? Why don't they work on things a little bit at a time? Like we have to with our homes. We have to keep them up too.
I believe that's what we do is a little.
Sometimes there's issues with the home that it goes unnoticed for a time, and then when you notice it, you have to fix it. That's what happened with this. In this situation, it wasn't noticed.
Inspect it all the time.
That costs money too.
If we save money, the state's gonna come in and look at us and say, oh, you have money, we're gonna cut how much we're sending you. So they take money away from us.
And we do hear a lot about, well, what about the lottery? What about marijuana? What, I mean, we don't really we have local control over local dollars. We do not have control over what the state sends us. So and we probably are getting that money. They throw it in the general fund and then that money gets funneled to us, but we don't have control over what the state is doing with that money. I wish we did, but we don't have that control. But what we can control is what we do locally. And I will stand behind our superintendent and the superintendent prior. They were really good stewards of our money. Our tax rate in this in our school district is one of the lowest around. When you do look at no one likes to open up their tax bill, but if you took your house out of Effingham School District and even put it in one of our neighboring towns around here, you're going to pay more money to that school district because their rates are higher. And we do have a very strong real estate market here, so our homes are valued a lot more than they are in Mattoon and in Charleston and some of our southern counties. So, we are not trying to take advantage of anyone in our local community. But I think we can all agree here that we are in it for the kids. And the kids are our future. And if we don't care about educating and funding our local schools, then what happens to our community as a whole? We're all here to make Effingham a better place for all of us.
If they take all of our money in taxes, we're not going to be able to afford our kids.
Too, we're not the only taxing body on your tax bill.
No, but you're the largest.
We're the largest, but
We
that
do
doesn't
understand
mean,
that.
That doesn't mean that the county can't
Right.
raise your taxes, and it would have nothing to do with us.
I guess I have this, the surrounding school, I don't remember what school district it was, but the kids were going to have their lunches in the hallways. They postponed, building facilities or whatever and made the kids, and that's what they agreed upon to do, because to build an extra cafeteria or to, I know it's not conducive, but, they decided to use what they had. And, it doesn't sound tolerable to me either, but, I do know of a surroundings, I don't recall which one, but I do remember being said that a surrounding school district was using their hallways to have the kids eat lunch.
Yes.
So I think what you offered here today is and for this group here that's getting involved, is education. So like you said, how do we look at budgets? How do we get involved? Because again, you have a bunch of involved people here. So that's the big thing for me. If you can, and again, I have a background in facilities, so I understand facilities, I understand roof leaks, I get calls every day about them, so I understand it. But again, it's an opportunity for education. And like Sharon said, building that trust so that people in this room can start to understand the budgets, what's happening in these facilities. And again, a lot of me personally, I'm getting in late on the game. So again, this is my first board meeting, I got involved. So again, that's what I hear. And if you guys are offering that to help educate us as concerned citizens, I think that's a win-win.
We appreciate that. Every board meeting is public. It's broadcast on YouTube. You can email us through the board email. We don't always respond, and I will tell you why. It is a Board of Education email box. It's not an individual email box. And once we respond, if I were to respond to an email that you sent to the board, that's coming from Jill Wendling, not coming from the board. We have to bring the communication to all of us. We talk about it and how we would respond as a group. So if you don't get a reply from the board email box, it's not because you haven't been heard. That's just because we're a collective organization. We're a collective board. So if one person speaks on behalf of the board, they're speaking for the entire board. And sometimes we don't answer those things in the right way. So if that makes sense to you, but we're always open to speaking to anyone personally.
So one question, I want to appreciate the communication, and Superintendent Johnson, appreciate your recognizing the petitions and you know, the people of the community have spoken, appreciate that very much. I just had a question about the budget. I've attended a few of the school board meetings, and usually the budgets either anywhere between, or the funds are anywhere between $23 and $28 million. And as I understand it, at the end of the day, they all get kind of put into one fund, and there's interest on that. For me, personally, I don't think a rainy day fund is bad, especially if you're not having enough money to cover expenses. So my question is, with the interest that's accrued, what happens to that interest? Where does it go? Second question, could it go into a rainy day fund, just additional for maintenance on buildings? If it's not raising our property taxes, it's already the taxes that we're paying in, and you can have a rainy day fund. I mean, that's something that's wise for anybody to have personally, or, you know, and for me, if there's not an increase in taxes for a rainy day fund, but it's already within what you're receiving and the interest you're accruing, could that be a possibility?
We have a rainy day fund.
Okay.
Our rainy day fund, and if you come to the board meeting when we have the auditor here, they audit every year, and they give a financial rating. And a lot of that, there's a lot of different formulas to that.
Okay.
Our rainy day fund right now is somewhere between 18 and 20 million, correct? Somewhere between 18 and 20 million. We are almost a $40 million budget. So half. So if the state didn't provide us with our funds, how long could we make it? And that's the money that we would have to tap into without coming to you as taxpayers. So we do have somewhat of a rainy day fund. $20 million, that's a lot of rainy day fund for all of us, right? Not for this organization, it's not. It's a lot of money, but it would be gone in a hurry if for some reason the state didn't provide us. And again, I would love to educate you and help you better understand the budget, and here's why. Right? We are in situations such as we get 4 reimbursement payments from the state of Illinois for our transportation. Okay? At one time, about 15 years ago, we received 100% reimbursement for transportation. And then they began prorating. And now the transportation is down to about 61% going into this year for regular education and 71% for special education. And what does that mean? That means that 30% of it doesn't come back to us. Okay? So who pays for that? You and I do, out of our rainy day fund. I'll also tell you that during my tenure of education, you get 4 installments a year. Guess what happens if you receive one of your 4 installments in July 1st? Which budget year does it go in? The next one. So you only got 3 this year. And our transportation payments probably around $400,000, I would say, for regular education transportation 4 times a year. So if I don't get that $400,000, what am I supposed to do? What do you do at home if you don't get your $5,000 or whatever it is that you need? Absolutely. I can't shut down things. We still have operation here of meeting children's needs.
Yeah, we have to define wants, and it's simple. Do you want it or do you need it? So I would just ask that the board would make better decisions on, do we need it or do we want it? And that's all I'm asking. Because a lot of us, we have to live within our means, and we don't. Cost of living is horrendous, and most people I know are not getting raises to go along with cost of living. So we have to learn to live within our means. Do I want it or do I need it? We don't take vacations. We don't take long trips because it doesn't fall into a need. So we have to watch our spending. So I would just ask And you have a top-notch maintenance team, I know this.
We're blessed.
You guys have an excellent maintenance team.
We have a top-notch staff across our board in the whole district, but we're also underpaid.
So is everyone.
Absolutely. But I don't represent everyone. I represent these 500 people, and I'm trying to get them paid more. And this facilities doesn't have anything to do with that.
I do have a question about that. As far as your average taxpayer compared to what their annual income is, what is it even in the same vein as to what your average 500 employees make? Are they coming up competitively to the taxpayers, or are they over or under? That's, I mean, I know every job's different in the whole $500.
There's the art to exactly what you're
There's a
asking.
hierarchy and, you know,
Right. So
I don't want to.
who do I compare our folks to?
Yeah, the average.
In your opinion, who do I compare
Well, I
them
mean, is there an average for the, I mean, your average?
to? Staff member?
Yes.
We've never pulled it that way, just because, again, their responsibilities, their categories don't fit.
But then I don't know how the statement can be made that they aren't making enough, because no one is. If they're making more than your average taxpayer that pays their wages, they're not getting underpaid. They're just making what they're making because everyone's underpaid. And that would be, and I'm not saying it to be a jerk about it, but if I'm paying your wages and you're complaining to me when you make more than I do, that you're not paid enough, trust me, I understand how hard they work. This school district it's a very good school district.
Correct.
I don't have complaints with it as far as the learning and the capacity. My kids get a great education. And I don't want standards to be lowered, but as it was said before, within our means, because the last 4 years have decimated the middle class. We are to the point where when you used to be able to put a few $100s away a month, or anything for your IRA. I know people will cancel their IRAs, cancel their 401ks, because at the end of the month they can't even feed their kids because that extra money pulled out of their check. I know people cancel their health insurance because, yeah, you're planning for the rainy day if you get sick, but right now the kids are sick and you can't afford to take them to the doctor now. And you can't afford to feed them now. And it's nothing against you guys. I understand you're doing your job, and I don't know the ins and outs of going with the state. The state of Illinois is insane, and it's gone insane. And I know you guys are probably starving for what other counties get that you guys should get. I think the main concern of it is if the only idea you guys have to come up with is to raise taxes, we've hit the bottom of the barrel. We need to figure out something else. There's the wants and needs thing is very important. And I don't want to go drastically cancel sports or anything like that. But I've seen since I went to school in the 90s, the amount of stuff they have is, I mean, it's wonderful if somebody else is paying for it. And right now, and talk about the trust issue, everyone I know feels that any government official is a drunk teenager with daddy's credit card. And that is the main problem. It's not that you guys are like that, but that's what we feel about everything. We don't trust anything you say. We don't trust any of it. And it's not your fault in particular. That is the status quo. I remember when they were lying when I was in high school about Effingham High School in the 90s being overcrowded. There wasn't a classroom I didn't sit in without an empty seat in it. It was always that way. And then we felt kind of gypped on that when they built the new high school, because we felt that they built it only for the stadium, which I understand. It's just I feel like the words forensic audit would be an ideal situation for something like this after this incident has come up. I don't know if that's something outside that you have to hire in. I don't know if that's something the taxpayers would have to pay for. But I'd feel better paying someone to go through the books that didn't work for the state. Just a thought.
Yeah, I mean, you could always offer up a forensic audit. Have you ever looked into what they cost?
Yeah, I do. I know. I remember when they tried to do it for Illinois 20 years ago.
What would it cost this district? Do you know roughly? It would be high.
Yeah.
And again, I appreciate your sentiments behind wanting it done correctly. We do the same thing every single day here.
I do.
And it's a big operation. But no, that's definitely something people could look into.
Well,
I wouldn't have any problem with a forensic audit. I will just tell you right now,
and
it's going to cost a whole lot more money than people realize.
Well, and when it comes to that too, I mean, has any thought been given to the amount of homeschooling that's going to be going on in the next 5 to 10 years?
It's already going on.
I know everyone I talk to is, and
there's no accountability. They can walk out my door tomorrow without me. I have no rights to them.
Well, and I think with the tax issue thing of being raised too is.
Well, that's amen, but it's a business. You're here tonight to discuss finances with me. Every child that walks out my door and goes somewhere else is money. So what's going to happen, as I've already addressed with this board, and I'm going to address more, is we're going to have to go take a deep dive of the return of investment on the money we're spending. And we're probably going to have to make cuts.
Well, and that was something else I would suggest too, is it's not just homeschooling though.
No.
It's private schools, it's charter schools.
You're
it's
correct.
Stuff that,
it's about $15,000 a head for a kid to walk out my door. I'm just from a business standpoint.
Well, and so what you have now though is only homeowners would be getting this hit. Everyone that rents or, just doesn't pay or lives at home, their taxes don't get touched, and that's why the homeowners came out. Because if that's the only solution, we don't feel that's the only solution. We feel like cuts. I mean, it's great education and all, but I feel like cuts are necessary for the wants. And like it or not, if some of these parents that want to pass these sort of things, perhaps there should be fundraisers and drives from the wealthiest in the community to not just pitch in their 50 cents, but if they want it to go up, they can volunteer to pay for it. This taxation is so high in Illinois that, people are crippled. I know people that sell things every day to make the next mortgage payment. And I'm not saying this to be like that it's all your fault, but you are the biggest tax burden.
We get to be a part of it. Sure.
After income tax, you guys are the biggest tax burden in the county.
Correct.
And I'm sorry that it came to this, that you guys are having to hear it, for people to get involved. That's how it seems to be working, because frankly, without using the vulgarity, people are angry about this to the point where I've never seen them this riled up. And I appreciate the fact you guys saw that, and have conceded the fact that, this is a big outpouring, from a town this small. And I feel like there's no one thinking outside the box, but I don't know if you can, because it's the state of Illinois.
It is. Some of that your hands are tied with. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We did have hundreds of renters come begging to sign petitions because they're like, we're maxed out. We can't leave the trailer park because we don't have $10 at the end of the month. If they raise our taxes because the property taxes go up and they realize the landlords will raise their taxes, they are gonna be out on the streets. They don't have $50. They can't save $50,000 for a down payment to leave. They are stuck and they are scared. There were a lot of tears shed, and it's really scary when you see those people. I'm very well off compared to some of these renters in this community. And they are at their wits' end.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
I have just one more. So this isn't really regarding you so much. You need the extra property taxes, but more of a city council board meeting that needs to happen. But there is a subdivision issue in Effingham. You guys need more property taxes. We need more middle class housing. Diedrich's doing it, T-Town's doing it. They are providing the neighborhoods that people can afford. Effingham is not. I don't know why that this isn't happening.
Get involved with the city council.
Why is, have you guys
we
were
talking about it. Everybody's talking about it.
Do we know why that's not happening?
It doesn't exist. You can't build a middle class house for it. It costs you like $300,000 and figure out the tax bill on a $300,000 house.
Even that
You
though,
can't
like,
have a next year.
even a $300,000 house would be better than a $900,000 house. All the subdivisions are $900,000 houses in Effingham. So even if you do a $300,000 house, that moves people from $200,000 houses to $300,000 houses, and then it opens up the $200,000 house. But like right now, we don't have we don't have any of those $300,000 houses.
It is a development issue. I know that even the street where the apartments are north of Menards, the developers had to run the utilities. They had to put the streets in to the city specs without any assistance from utility companies, without any assistance from the city. So what that drives the cost of the building up. So that drives the cost of the rent up. And then affordable houses there just turned out to be $320,000. That's not necessarily affordable, right? But for them to break even, that's all they can do.
Is there
So-
any coordination
so-
between you guys in the city at all, ever? I mean, do you,
I serve on the Pave Housing Committee.
okay.
Greg and I attend many meetings in various capacities pushing for affordable housing. There is conversation. There have been meetings over the course of the last 18 months at least. The comprehensive plan that was just is in the process of still being completed, but there were lots of surveys and lots of meetings. That was a top priority being addressed. One of the big concerns that I've heard, just so you know, is there's fear of coming in and stepping on contractors' toes here by doing a project.
There's fear of that for every single business. I've noticed that the gatekeeping for this community
Ridiculous thing.
is sick. It's disgusting. So, yeah.
But I think you're onto something. This is, I'll be honest with you, because I serve on lots of different groups. This is bigger than the school district.
You need more
This is
property
our
taxes, you need
community.
more properties.
You're correct.
Right.
You know, I'm in support of TIFs. Okay? Most superintendents will not say that. Why would I support a TIF? Because it's giving people a break to build. There's going to come a day that that TIF goes away, and that tax money, instead of going into that TIF, does come to us. But in the meantime, how about we have people buying gas, buying food, going to church, doing whatever they do in our community, and we're expanding upon that. Right? It's mass, but I don't think.
Taxes on your homes are too high, people are gonna sell and live out. Because if you're on a budget like Medicare or you've retired and your real estate goes up, you cannot afford your real estate and your homeowner's insurance and your mortgage every month because you're gonna starve to death.
Correct.
Because the taxes are too high in Effingham County. So people that don't wanna pay, if this increase comes, a lot of people are gonna move out of Unit 40 County and move into a district county that's a lot cheaper because they can't afford it.
Which county would that be? They would.
They're gonna move to a different state.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, I was gonna say, they're not moving to a
Because
different
there's
county.
Stay in Illinois.
There's only 11 counties in the state of Illinois that have a district representation like we do here. Or 11 counties of 102 in the state of Illinois that have a lower tax rate than Effingham County right now.
Good on you.
No, not me. We're just continuing.
No, I mean, that's good for us.
Right.
To say that we're the lowest, we should be the lowest.
So that
We
should
should be
attract
better.
people here.
That should attract people here.
But it's not. They got nowhere to live. Correct.
I think
Yeah.
this hearing is.
Right. I think we need to wrap up the hearing.
Let this go.
I have a quick question. I did just a quick internet search, and there is a way, Mr. Altman, for districts to have a savings account called Capital Reserve Fund. It's my understanding, maybe Chicago did some of this. I personally wouldn't mind thinking outside the box and saying, maybe the school district wants to make some cuts, maybe they want to move some of this money to a capital reserve fund. Me as a taxpayer, I'm gonna say, hey, that's a great idea for a while, as long as I know it's going towards an addition, or, hey, I think it's great that you guys revitalized the junior high. People support keeping the junior high. If I know that you're saving money to put towards the junior high or west side or east side school that you already own, I'm gonna say, hey, that's better than raising my taxes. And I looked on the internet, just 30-second internet search, and I found out there's several ways to do this sort of thing.
Was that underneath the school code, or what did you find that under? Because
Just a quick internet search about capital reserve.
is that Fund 60?
I don't know.
Because here's the other thing if we want to get into this, and this would be a good conversation to have someday. There's a limitation as to how much money you can have in your funds as a school district in reserve. So we could beef up the Fund 60. Okay. but it's only going to be able to get beefed up across the board as a district to a certain level. And I would have to check and see exactly what that is. We have limitations that go deeper than just that Fund 60. I think what you're saying, we would agree 100%. I would love to have a Fund 60 because I don't think we have anything in Fund 60 right now because that's the 1% sales tax or capital.
What about a fundraiser?
Fundraisers, yes, could.
Okay.
Yep.
If I want to kick in $50 or $100 or a business wants to kick in $1,000 or you want to name the school the State Farms, I don't care.
Right.
It's just another idea. Maybe it's another way besides raising everybody's taxes.
We'll look into it. I think it's a great thing to consider. And I know this board's not opposed to any of that. Last thing they want to do is raise property taxes.
I have one quick question, and it relates to a comment made by Mr. Altman earlier, and it got me thinking a little bit. And you indicated there's actually a disincentive to save money. And that's a problem that plagues not only our local taxpayer funded units, but state and federal taxpayer funded issues. And the problem is every department within a taxpayer funded entity, for example, Unit 40, is allocated a certain amount of money in the budget. If they don't spend that money in a particular year, it's my understanding that the following year, their budget is likely to be cut. That may or may not always be the case, but it's usually the case. So my question to you, Mr. Johnson, and I'll open this up to the entire Unit 40 school board is, what incentives, if any, does any department of the Unit 40 school board have to actually not only stay within the budget, but to come under budget?
I don't know if I'm completely understanding your question,
Well,
but here's what I can tell you.
I'm saying view this as a business. Business is always looking at ways to save money in every aspect of their business. Does Unit 40 do that? Are we looking for ways to save money? Or are we more concerned with spending every dollar that's allocated to a department so that we don't have our budget cut the following year?
We are not, sir. And to validate that, I just asked Kelsey, running our books. The last 3 years, I know for sure, we were under budget. This year, we're over.
Are there
one
incentives
of the
for
biggest
departments coming under budget? Is anyone incentivized to come under budget in any department of Unit 40?
No.
What would be the incentive? A financial incentive?
You know what? I would have no problem giving a department manager a 5% bonus. For every $100 you save the department, you're gonna get a $5 raise.
So actually, to be honest with you, there's a built-in incentive. It's called interest rates. We vest our money into the bank and we have a sweep account that every single night, whatever's left in our account, that's the interest we receive off of. So if we continue to do our diligence and stay under budget and have money in our account, we make more interest. Where does the interest go? Back into the operations of the business. And it helps keep your property taxes
Do the
down.
employees know about that? Like you said, if it is an incentive, do they know about that as a whole?
Oh, probably not.
There's no-
Most of my employees don't have anything to do with the budget.
Right,
Well, I
they
mean,
don't,
just
yeah.
on-
The people that control
can't
budgets.
control it.
Department heads, that's what. Because if they do that, I mean, like you said, it's not a personal incentive.
Right.
But just something for their, their reviews, if they take pride in their work, they'd love to know they're doing that.
Right. And that's something we could bring to their attention. I think it's a great point. We can look into that. We probably do need to move on.
We do need it.
But thank you all for being here. Thank you for
We do.
a great community.
Appreciate you, appreciate, the taxpayers of our community. We appreciate the process. This is America, and we'd love for you to become more interested and vested in our board. There are often times that many seats go without a candidate. And when that happens, then the board takes applications and we interview candidates and we have to appoint someone. If there's ever a board vacancy, watch the paper, fill out the application, come and interview, and you might have a seat on the board. But we need people to run We can't do this forever. We're volunteers. We do this because we care. We care about Effingham as a whole. We care about our employees. We care about the kids in the district and future generations too.
Well, I don't think anyone in this room is saying you don't.
I
all appreciate that. And I volunteered 30 years of my life to youth. So no one's criticizing the board here, okay? But I think if you want something, you have to sell it. Don't tell the community that this is how you're gonna pay for it. Do a better job of articulating what needs to be done. What does the community have to say? I think there's some ideas in here thrown around. I don't know how valid they are, but this is what we need to do in 5 years. Project that more than you do a 1% or property tax. That's hitting people where it really counts. So articulate what is needed for the school district so the community can sit it out, see what it needs. Maybe that might help. I think people are trying to understand what it's all about. Because once you raise our property taxes, it never goes away. Never goes away. If I thought $387 is gonna take care of your problem for 1 year, I'll be the first one to sign up. And not everybody. So,
Yeah.
just,
Exactly.
I think that's what you're attacking what hurts the residents the most, is their income they're paying. So that's all I have to say. But I want to thank you all. I know what it's like to volunteer. You get absolute zero. I mean, I know each other from a long time.
Yeah. Just don't
You get zero praise.
throw eggs
Different
at us.
district though.
But that's not what we do it for.
Didn't know Jeff lived in Effingham until tonight. Did I?
You don't even know me.
Learn something new every day. He did help me get the bass fishing team started here, so you might tell him thanks. So kudos to Mr. Bass Fisherman himself. Well, you started at T-Town and Newton and here. We do go way back. I guess we still get along. I don't know.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks all.
Thank you. I'm looking for a motion, a second to adjourn the bonds hearing. Motion by Andrew. Do you want to second that?
Yes, that's fine.
Second by Brandon. Roll call.
Jane, yes. Desha? Yes. Brandon?
Yes.
Erica? Yes. Andrew?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes. I now call the regular board meeting to order. Roll call.
Desha?
Yes.
Brandon?
Yes.
Erica?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Jane? Yes.
Okay. Is there any visitors that would like to address the board? I think we've had enough of that this evening. Next item on the agenda is the amended budget adoption.
I have no further comments unless someone has a question.
Does anyone have any questions? I'm looking for a motion, a second to adopt the FY25 amended budget as presented.
Motion?
Motion by Erica, second by Andrew. Roll call.
Desha? Yes. Brandon?
Yes.
Erica?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Jane? Yes.
Okay, your financial report is in the packet. Does anyone have any questions for Mrs. Baker? Okay, do you have any comments?
The only comment I have is the fund balance is a little inflated because of the bonds, so that will change. So that's we are showing 135% increase over last year, but that's due to the bonds. Okay.
Any other questions? I'm looking for a motion, a second to approve the financial report to reimburse the Empress account in the amount of $1,752.54 and the payment of bills in the amount of $775,442.90. Motion by Andrew.
Second.
Second by Erica. Roll call. Brandon. Oh, I don't. Are
Still
you
there,
there?
Brandon?
Yes.
Erica,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Jane, yes, Session.
Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. There are meeting minutes from May 19th and June 3rd special meeting. The cafeteria report is attached. The student teacher list, I think we have, pulling up quickly, just one in 4th grade at Central in the fall. Fundraisers, we have the basketball cheer team doing El Rancherito Dine and Donate in July or August. And Central Student Council would like to sell Snitzels and Snickers in September, December, February, and in April. Also in the consent agenda is the annual software program subscription renewals. There's quite a list there for you to review. And I believe that's it. Does anyone have any questions about the consent agenda? I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda.
Motion?
Motion by Erica,
Second.
second by Andrew. Roll call?
Erica,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Jane, yes, Session. Brandon,
Yes.
I have correspondence, and I'll just pass these around for you to review. One is from Sandy Lohman and her retiree recognition. The Southside school staff for providing lunch during teacher appreciation, and the last one is from Renee Green. Next on the agenda is the superintendent's report.
Enrollment as of 5/30/25 was 2,327 students. This is one more student than the previous month and 50 more students than the previous year. Secondly is the Little Hearts Early Childhood Center. A couple updates. First of all, Little Hearts Early Childhood Center has met the eligibility requirements for the Accelerate Illinois Gold Circle of Quality. So they just received the gold quality rating again, which is very difficult to do. So I commend Denise Pitcher, Christine Mesnard, Jennifer Fox, and all of the staff at Little Hearts for doing such an amazing job. And I'll also add that Mrs. Fox has moved on to Alney. So now that facility is under the control of Denise Pitcher and Christy Mesnard. And then, of course, Lacey Altoff is now overseeing Eastside and ELC. So that transition has taken place. Yes.
Does, how much does the enrollment drop off during the summer there? Very much, or?
I'd have to double check, because I don't know off the top of my head. I can look into that and let you know if you want me to.
Does Little Hearts count towards our enrollment, or is that a
No.
separate? I just want to be clear on that.
Completely separate entity for all aspects, other than the fact that we want that staff there to feel included in our school district, and that's hard for us to do. We've not done a very good job of it, but we're trying like everything to make them a part of it.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you. We'll move on to new business. The first item is the final reading and approval to adopt press policy updates. Those are all in your packet. Does anyone have any questions? I'm looking for a motion and a second to adopt the following board policies as presented. 2-260, 2-265, 415, 480, 4120, 510, 520, 560, 5100, 6150, 6235, 6310, 710, 720, 750, 760, 770, 7180, 7185, 7190, 7200, 7210, 7250, 7255, 7270, 7310, 7315, 7340, and 830. Do I have that motion?
Motion.
Motion by Erica,
Second.
second by Jane. Roll call?
Andrew,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Jane, yes, Session.
Yes.
Brandon,
Yes.
Erica. Yes.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the approval of an Effingham Unit 40 Foundation Director. The foundation has nominated Zoe Bridges. Does anyone have any questions? I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve Zoe Bridges as the Effingham Unit 40 Foundation Director. Motion by Andrew.
Second.
Second by Erica. Roll call.
Jill?
Yes.
Jane, yes. Desha?
Yes.
Brandon?
Yes.
Erica?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Consolidated District Plan, which includes school-wide title plans for ELC, Southside, and Central, and the School Improvement Plan for EHS. That plan is in your packet. I believe Mrs. Beck puts that together, is that right?
Yes, this is just an annual approval for the purpose of submitting our Title I, Title II, Title III, school improvement IDEA, flow-throughs, and ESSER, which ESSER's gone, grants through the state. This is a requirement in order to be able to seek those. I can give you a brief update at this point. Been asked many a times, what does it mean when the DOE, Department of Education, disbands and the President of the United States makes the changes that he's made? The effect at this point right now for this district is in the anticipated federal funding. You can see in your packet, $554,897 is the anticipated revenue for this coming year. That is down $100,000 for Title I going into this year from last year. The second piece that I think is to be noted, Title II is completely gone. We get zero as of right now for this year, and it was $134,572 last year. So as we're in a holding pattern and don't know for sure what that effect is going to be at the federal level, we are down $230,000 in our title funding going into this school year. I received that, I believe, last week.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve the Consolidated District Plan, which includes the school-wide title plans for ELC, Southside, and Central, and the School Improvement Plan for EHS as presented.
Motion.
Motion by Andrew,
Second.
second by Desha. Roll call.
Jane, yes. Desha?
Yes.
Brandon?
Yes.
Erica?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes. Next item on the agenda is the property casualty cyber workers comp insurance renewal. The memos in your packet. Mrs. Baker, do you want to add anything?
We're staying with all the same companies. We did take it out to bid again and lowest bidders were awarded. So all the same companies as we've had in the past.
Okay. Any questions? I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve the FY26 property casualty, blanket student accident, cyber, and workman's compensation insurance renewals at the cost of $520,318. And that's for the 25-26 school year.
Motion.
Motion by Erica.
Second.
Second by Andrew. Roll call.
Desha? Yes. Brandon?
Yes.
Erica?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Jane, yes.
The dairy bids are next. Annually, the district bids for milk suppliers. There was just one bid, and that was submitted by Prairie Farms. Your memos in board book. Any questions? I'm looking for a motion and a second to accept the dairy bid from Prairie Farms Dairy for the 25-26 school year.
Motion.
Motion by Andrew,
Second.
second by Erica. Roll call.
Desha?
Yes.
Brandon?
Yes.
Erica?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Jane, yes.
Next is the bakery bids. Annually, the district bids for bread suppliers. One bakery bid was received from Alpha Bakeries, and that bid was accepted. The memos in board book. Any questions? I'm looking for a motion and a second to accept the bakery bid from Alpha Bakeries for the 25-26 school year.
Motion.
Motion by Andrew, Second by Desha, roll call.
Erica?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Jane, yes. Desha? Yes. Brandon?
Yes.
Lots of bids this evening in the cafeteria realm of things. Next is the pizza bid. And it appears that Domino's was the one pizza bid that was received and accepted. Any questions? The memo's in the board book. I'm looking for a motion and a second to accept the pizza bid from Domino's for the 25-26 school year. Motion by Andrew.
Second.
Second by Erica. Roll call.
Andrew?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Jane, yes. Desha?
Yes.
Brandon?
Yes.
Erica?
Yes.
Okay, I think this is the last cafeteria item. The grocery bidders. Annually, the district bids for grocery suppliers, and the one grocery bid was received from Kohl's, and that memo is in board book. I'm looking for a motion and a second to accept the grocery bid from Kohl's for the 25-26 school year. Motion by Andrew. Second by Desha. Roll call.
Jill?
Yes.
Jane, yes. Desha?
Yes.
Brandon?
Yes.
Erica?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the amendment and extension to the consultant agreement by and between the Board of Education and Effingham School District 40 and Bendy Investments LLC. Does anyone, do you want to supply any more information?
This is basically June Niles, and this is her company that I believe this is the second year or third year, going into third year maybe, that we've utilized her as a consultant to help with data, dealing with Infinite Campus, probably just about anything data-wise that we have going on. So I would like to hope that this is be the last year that we consult with her to help get us, make sure everything's running smoothly and headed in the direction we need to go. So I would ask that you approve that this year with hopes that this is it.
Any questions? I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve the agreement with June Niles as a data consultant with Unit 40 for the 25-26 school year.
Motion.
Motion by Erica. Second by Desha. Roll call.
Jane, yes. Desha?
Yes.
Brandon?
Yes.
Erica?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes. Okay, next on the agenda is the HLS amendment for the Southside Elementary project.
Yeah, and I would ask you, again, several of these run together. We've got this one, then we've got the Southside project with masonry, plumbing, and asphalt coming up next, and then the professional services with BLDD after that, and then the mobile trailers. So the next four kind of tie together, and I say this with this in mind. If you were to approve J, which is what we're on right now for the Health Life Safety Amendment, from my understanding, that would be for projected estimated cost of $360,000 of the project that was on the agenda for tonight. But I think some of you may have some concerns with some pieces of it. But the pieces that you don't have concerns with, which I think are the health, life, safety piece to it, meaning the parking lot on the next one. If you pulled the parking lot off the next one and stayed with the masonry restoration, waterproofing, and the plumbing and sheet metal 2 bids, there is a possibility that we need this approved health, life, safety before we could ever start that to be able to utilize health, life, safety funds. That makes sense? Does that muddy things enough? And in other words, here's the other piece to it. You can't seek, and we have a health, life, safety fund that we have funds in and we levy for every year. And it's used for, kind of like they stated earlier, the rainy day fund. When something comes up, such as this project, and we have leaks going on, then we move forward with it. Here's the bad side of this. Due to the fact, and I didn't know this until about 10 minutes before I walked in here, in conversation with BLDD architects, if we pull the asphalt project from the next one, the asphalt project also had something to do with the other 2 pieces for groundwork. So I have to find out from the attorneys tomorrow if we have to rebid that and have those two people bid groundwork because the parking lot's not being done. Does that make sense? So my suggestion to you, with all that being said, is go ahead and approve, if you would, J, that we're eligible for, and we'll seek that and get Regional Office of Education approval, then the state, Illinois State Board of Education approval to utilize health, life, safety funds if we do the project. If we don't do the project, it just sits there. Then we go to K, and if you tell me to potentially consider going with the two options and move forward with that part, I got to find out tomorrow if we have to rebid because the dirt work part, or could Effingham Asphalt come in here and do the dirt work for them under the bid they've already given us, but not do the asphalt part. There's lots of pieces tied to this, as the other side to this. And then based on what,
Can you explain that, just so I can make a decision here? Can you explain the asphalt? How much is it and where exactly?
asphalt project will be $361,459. That was the bid from Gavis. That was the only bid. And that is the southeast corner of Southside property. If you've driven by there lately, we've already torn the fence down. We've already moved some trees, which is not a big deal. We can put a fence back up.
We don't have enough parking there anyway,
Correct.
and we're taking a little bit more parking probably with what we're doing.
Correct. And the city told me we had
So
to.
this parking lot that we're doing isn't even that big, but it's probably adding needed spaces.
That's correct. And the city told me we had to put a parking lot. We have to provide more parking due to the fact of us putting the mobile classrooms on there. And I
So then
agreed
how
that
could
we would,
not do the asphalt if we have to provide more parking?
because you said we
No,
need
but
to consider
is that even
that.
possible?
I think everything's possible,
What do you just tell the city no?
I guess. And then we find out what they say.
Should we get a bid like a rocket ship versus asphalt?
We did not.
And what he's saying is that Effingham Asphalt was gonna do the earthwork and the
Correct.
storm sewer that the sump pump from the basement was to drain in.
Is that part of
So,
the money?
so if
That's
we
included?
approve the sump pump, the restoration, there's no place for that water to go if Cabas doesn't do the storm sewer for us.
It sounds like it needs to be done. Is someone in disagreement with that?
Yes. I've had multiple people say they have concern about us moving forward
With the,
until we see a better stability to our budget. That was the statement made to me by multiple board members. So that's why I've said.
I may
in
have
those
said
polls.
that, not understanding the full picture.
Right.
There's a
and
lot
we
of-
didn't know that. I was here when Andy got that phone call it was
Yeah, it was
5:00.
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'd sent information to them earlier in the day and they just got around to getting back to me.
So what he
So-
said was, there's nowhere for that water to drain if the storm sewer.
Yeah, I mean, I
Correct.
think there are things
Yeah.
that we can put off, like a new gym floor.
Right.
Things that we can't, like a flooding school.
Correct. The kicker to it is K is a total of a $782,000 construction project. Okay. Dealing with the masonry work, tuck pointing, plumbing, and then add in the asphalt piece, which the asphalt piece, part of our issue up there with leak is that it's cracking. And so it's running back into the old 1930 part of the building, I think. I think it's the oldest property still standing for this school district. Is the south side back piece there. So if you moved forward with approving these, J and then K, $782,000, about 360 of that would likely be approved by the Illinois State Board of Education and the Regional Office of Education to utilize health, life, safety funds, which is what J is asking for. Okay? Which then puts you in a position that truly you're going to pay, what does that leave? Yeah, 482.
Another
About
360.
400,000-ish, huh? Another 360-ish.
Is this project gonna go on while the school year is happening?
You'll have to.
Yeah.
We don't have any choice.
Right.
We could put it off a year. We've had leaks. We've had concerns, and And now we've found the root of some of those concerns.
Gone through with some of these bids, should we bid concrete? Or no?
We can.
I'm asking, like,
It's
if we
higher.
do anything, it'll for sure be higher?
Well, that's what I've been told, but we haven't bid it, so I can't verify that. My conversation with all of us was that this was the direction we were going.
No, I understand.
And so I didn't focus on anything else.
But everything's changed in the last couple
Yep.
weeks.
We can put the thing off.
I
It's
don't
not-
wanna put it off, I'm just asking questions.
Sure.
It's everyone's understanding that it would be probably a waste of time to get other bids, right?
For asphalt, or you just mean anything else?
No, I mean, concrete, asphalt, whatever. I mean, that essentially be a waste of time probably.
I
Just
think
delay
the
starting.
concrete would be more expensive. I will also tell you that, from my understanding, Effingham Asphalt, Mr. Cabas will be involved in that bid process too.
Wouldn't concrete last longer?
Absolutely. Much longer.
Is that one of the ways that you wanted to go down? I'm so.
That was for
Yes.
the high school parking lot. This is different.
I'm trying to save money right now. Because I've been addressed multiple times recently on money. So again, I think you need to do J regardless. If you want to sit on K, I could even do some legwork in next week's special meeting if you don't mind holding one. I'm going to be out of town, so Kelsey will need to be the one to run it if you're going to be around. It would be a short one. I can get everything lined up for you. You could do this at that point also, and I can check. I've got
I
them.
don't wanna waste anybody's time.
I've got them on hold. I called them before I walked in here because I've got to, these people have this week planned out. We were starting tomorrow. And based on the information coming back from some of you school board members, I put them on hold. I can call them back as soon as we're done and say, let's go.
What other thoughts?
Well, the leaking has to be fixed.
Right, but with the
Right.
leaking comes putting asphalt down,
Right.
concrete down. So
But can we ask to see if they'll do the dirt work in the storm sewer?
If you're going to do that, I would probably encourage you not to take any action tonight. I would act on J, leave K tabled, vote to table it, bring it back next week. If you're not, don't mind meeting next week. Let me do some homework tomorrow. Let me check on concrete. Let me check on things of that nature. Or gravel. Here's the other thing I want you to keep in mind. And I mentioned vision earlier. One of the hopes was at some point that building would be vacated and our daycare could go in there. If our daycare went in there, the area in the back that's going to be asphalted all the way up there would be fenced off for little kids to ride tricycles in. Okay? So there's lots of different pieces to this that aren't all laid out there, but without A, a K through 2 building, B, moving our daycare in there, C, we don't need a tricycle area. But when we're doing a parking lot, it plays into the future, which is something that should always be thought about when we're doing facilities. And I'll stop there.
So what do you suggest that we do?
I would suggest that you move forward with approving J, leave table K. If you're willing to have a board meeting next week, I'll make sure we've got something lined up for you that you're better understanding what you can do next week. It may even be you hold it a year. Or it may be you go now, or it may be we have to go bid. And whenever we get the bids back on concrete or oil and chip or something, we can move forward with that. So I would table K and I would approve J.
Okay. Does that sound like a good plan collectively? Okay. Item J, approval of the HLS amendment for the Southside Elementary project. I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve the HLS amendment as presented. This will require the district to submit the approved item to the ROE and then to Illinois State Board of Education. The total HLS cost of the project is estimated at $360,000. Motion by Andrew.
Second.
Second by Erica. Roll call.
Desha.
Yes.
Brandon.
Yes.
Erica.
Yes.
Andrew.
Yes.
Jill.
Yes.
Jane, yes.
And then item K, the approval of the Southside project guaranteed maximum price agreement with Holland Construction. That item, I'm looking for a motion and a second to table.
Motion.
Motion by Erica, second by Andrew. Roll call.
Brandon.
Yes.
Erica.
Yes.
Andrew.
Yes.
Jill.
Yes.
Jane, yes. Desha.
Yes.
I would ask you to table L too. Go ahead
And
and read
then-
it if you want to, but
Table L is the approval of project Exhibit 1, the amendment to the professional services agreement, which is the full designs and scope of the waterproofing project at Southside. I'm looking for a motion and a second to table that project. Motion by Andrew,
Second.
second by Erica. Roll call.
Erica.
Yes.
Andrew.
Yes.
Jill.
Yes.
Jane, yes. Desha.
Yes.
Brandon.
Yes.
Okay, next on the agenda is the approval of the mobile trailers agreement at Southside Elementary. Those mobile classrooms are in place, and we're looking to move that contract from 2 years to 3 years. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
the purpose of moving that was as soon as we found out that there was a big movement on petitions and it was going well, as we were able to track that, it did put us in a position to be able to have conversations that we were likely going to need mobile trailers for that extra year. And it's cheaper to get them now when you sign the original contract, because we signed a 2-year, but he would allow us, because I talked to him before they finished completion of installation, they would extend it to 3 years for the same price each month. So that's what I asked a couple of you, and you said that's probably not a bad idea. So I moved forward with that. I know there's been some concern from some of you. If that's not something that you want, this is the point that we stop that. We stick with the 2. Here's what you got to keep in mind. If you don't have a building to move them into in 2 years and those things come off there, where do you want those people that are going to be in those buildings to go? Cram them back into the classrooms like we did? Okay. There's one that says yes. I don't know what your feel as a collective group is. The whole intent behind the mobile classrooms, in my opinion, was to give us room to breathe, be able to offer more opportunities for our kids to grow and get people out of the crammed in classrooms. That's why we did this, because we didn't have the K-2 building, and it appears we're not going to. So
I think
you
this,
tell me what to do. I can call the guy back tomorrow and say, nope, we're staying with the 2, or we can move forward if you want to as a board tonight with a 3.
I think we stay with the 3. That gives us more breathing room to figure out the plan for the future.
I'm gonna vote no. I didn't want the mobile classrooms to be in this. Yeah.
And I think,
I'm fine with whatever.
yeah, and that's the uniqueness of this opportunity and everything that you do. You have a right to vote no. I think, do you mind sharing some of your thoughts about what you think we should consider doing?
Well, I mean, we were managing, okay, I thought, the way things were going out there personally. I mean, I don't work out there every day, so.
Oh, at where?
Southside.
Well, we have 3 classrooms. We walked that. Remember, we took that tour. We had 3 specialties offered in one classroom.
Right.
And that's the kind of stuff that we were trying to get away from.
Yeah.
Plus, we brought 3 classrooms to town, 2nd grade.
3 classrooms.
Second grade?
3
Oh, you're
at
returning.
Central.
Returning them back to.
Return.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought we were fine with the central.
No. We vacated, we
Yeah, I
brought
know,
3
I
second
know. I
grades.
just disagree with that decision, moving them back to 2nd grade. I mean, it's fine. I don't, that's just my stance. I think the mobile classrooms were not, I wasn't at that board meeting to discuss it and vote.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. I just knew you had some concerns, and I thought
Yeah.
if there's anything we need to talk about, it'd be good.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
Any other questions or concerns? Okay, I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve the 3-year agreement with Mobile Modular that cancels the original 2-year agreement and replaces it with a 3-year agreement at a cost of $8,505. There's no additional expenses for setup, delivery, and pickup that are incorporated into the contract. Do I have a motion? Motion by Desha, second by Jane, roll call.
Andrew? Jill?
Yes.
Jane, yes. Desha?
Yes.
Brandon?
Yes.
Erica?
Yes. Okay, next on the agenda is a motion and a second to enter into closed session for the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district. For item 2, litigation when an action against affecting or on behalf of a particular body has been filed or is pending before court or administrative tribunal when the public body finds that an action is probable or imminent, in which case the basis for finding shall be recorded and entered into the minutes of the closed meeting. And for the third item, collective negotiating matters between a public body and its employees and their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees related to bargaining with our 2 unions. Do I have a motion and a second to enter into closed session? Motion by Andrew.
Second.
Second by Erica, roll call.
Jill?
Yes.
Jane, yes. Desha?
Yes.
Brandon?
Yes.
Erica?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
That wraps up the regular part of the meeting. Thank you.